About 100 miles south of the equator, there is a tropical paradise known as Java, the largest and most populous island in the Dutch East Indies. Its colorful waterways, reminiscent of Holland, date back to the Dutch explorers who came here 3.5 centuries ago and planned the first canal for a territory that has grown to be over 50 times the size of Holland, and the most important colonial development under the flag of the Netherlands. Batavia, the capital and chief seaport of Java, as well as the hub of Asiatic Holland, presents a panorama of life that is typical of the Dutch East Indies. The Javanese by nature are a quiet and peaceful people, more or less subdued by the vertical rays of an equatorial sun, as well as the benevolence of Mother Nature, who has favored them with a constant bounty of tropical fruit, some of which could never grace the tables of the Western Hemisphere because of its tendency to perish a few hours after it is picked. And speaking of food, there is a meal especially served in Java that is known as rice tafel, and it consists of the strangest combination of food ever prepared for human appetites. Fried eggs, roasted peanuts, rice, fried corn, bananas, shredded coconuts, fried chicken, pork, and so on, up to 20 or more different ingredients. If you should desire a second helping of some choice morsel, the entire retinue of waiters will return, and it's a matter of eliminating one by one until you find the man with the particular food you desire. After such a meal, it is only natural that one should witness a dance like this, which is about the next best thing to a nightmare. As a matter of fact, it is often referred to as the nightmare dance. Typical Javanese music, if we may call it such, is more or less rhythmic noise. And like the Javanese dancing, it goes on and on, as long as there is a spectator left with patience to endure it. But now we must say farewell to this dancing nightmare and journey northwestward in the track of the sun over a tropical sea to the island of Ceylon. We arrive in the harbor of Colombo, capital and chief seaport of Great Britain's crown colony, Ceylon, where at the crossroads of two hemispheres, the East meets the West, and trade is carried on in the traditional manner of Old England. Colombo's chief landmark is a lighthouse on Main Street, which throws its nocturnal beams over the city to ships at sea, and bears the unique distinction of having a lighthouse keeper who walks to and from his lighthouse, ducking and dodging bicycles, rickshaws, automobiles, carts, and pedestrians. And while he is on duty, the whirl of traffic continues just beneath his tower. The island of Ceylon is only a few miles off the coast of southern India, and at one time it may have been part of the mainland, thus accounting for the prevalence of East Indian types. The men are inclined to be feminine in manner as well as dress, most of them wearing their hair as long as the women. They prefer to do their own sewing and mending, and not a few of them cook the family meals. Generally speaking, the women of Ceylon, from childhood to old age, have a much easier time than most native women in the Eastern Hemisphere. Buddhism is the pervading religion of Ceylon, and picturesque Buddhist temples are very much in evidence all over the island. Buddhist priests in their colorful robes lend interesting atmosphere to the temples. They receive no definite income for their services, but they have the prerogative of knocking on the door of any Buddhist house for food and drink and an occasional piece of cloth to supplant a worn-out robe. Generally speaking, the Buddhist priests are wholesome and good-natured men, serving what appears to be a constructive cause with an admirable degree of simplicity and unselfishness. Perhaps the most famous Buddhist temple in Ceylon is the so-called Temple of the Tooth at Kandy. According to tradition, one of the great Buddhist teeth is preserved within this temple, and it is exhibited once a year with an elaborate ceremony that is attended by Buddhists from all parts of Ceylon. Among the animals of Ceylon, the water buffalo is perhaps the most indispensable, and he is the inseparable companion of the Singhalese farmer, who probably gives more time and attention to his buffalo than he does to his children. The water buffalo's skin is of such fine texture that it is practically devoid of pores. Consequently, during the heat of the day, he must be bathed several times in cool water. Vying with the water buffalo from a point of usefulness is the elephant, who must also be bathed at least twice a day because of his thick skin. It is said that the elephants of Ceylon are such accurate judges of time that every day at precisely the same hour, they will quit work in the fields and go down to the water to drink and bathe. Consequently, the time of day may be determined by the natives through the habits of the elephants. Ceylon's most popular seaside resort is called Mount Lavinia, and it is here that the wealthier residents find relief from the intense heat of Colombo, the picturesque boats of the native fishermen providing no small amount of pleasure to those who are fond of sailing. Amongst the fishermen, we find the feminine types who are as proud of their raven locks as was the proverbial Samson of biblical fame. But now the time for our departure is drawing near. Off the golden coast of Mount Lavinia, the great orb of day, resplendent in an aura of tropical colors, is descending into a tropical sea, forming a glorious setting in which to conclude our glimpses of Java and Ceylon.